Hey guys, coming to another movie for you guys, and this movie reviewing, I was definitely interested in this movie, I definitely will say that. I remember when this was first announced, I didn't really know how it was going to be, but this movie actually just came out today, and it's already on Stoller Movie and things like that, and I actually finally got to watch it. I'm glad I got to watch it, and that movie is a movie that I never really asked for, but a movie that I was at least interested in, and that is Neighbors 2 Sorority Rising, of course, the sequel to Neighbors. I really enjoyed Neighbors, the first one. I thought it was a really fun comedy. It had a really nice story to it, and actually had a really nice, heart to it as well. And especially, I think, really was the breakout movie for Zac Efron. Show that he's not just some guy that's going to do a bunch of movies for teen girls. He doesn't just do those kind of movies now. He does a very large variety of movies, and I really think it's the movie that really got him going and really showed how fun and how great of an actor Zac Efron can really be. And I was really looking forward to seeing how this movie would be. Now, I never really thought we needed a sequel, Neighbors 2, but I was at least interested because it did seem like they were trying to do something different. It did seem like they were trying to not be exactly like the first movie. And overall, what I think of Neighbors 2 Sorority Rising, overall, I did not think this movie was as good as the first one, but it is a very good sequel, and much better than most comedy sequels nowadays. I mean, I know a lot of comedy sequels really are shitty nowadays, but this one was pretty good. I definitely really did enjoy it, but it definitely has a lot more problems than the first Neighbors did. But let's get to the plot of Neighbors 2, which I really do, love the plot of this movie. Basically, of course, we still are focusing on Mac and Kelly. Kelly is expecting another baby, and Mac is thinking that their house just won't be too big enough for them anymore, that they need another house because they're going to have another baby and everything, and they really want to move. And unfortunately, though, their house is escrow, which means that their house is going to be looked at for 30 days, and if nothing bad happens, then their house can be sold. Unfortunately, though, a sorority ends up moving next door, and that Teddy is actually a part of, Zac Efron's character, of course, Teddy, and together, Mac and Kelly, they are now in another situation where they need to find out a way to disband this sorority or find a way to get them to leave, and basically they eventually realize that this sorority is a lot more than what they're dealing with, and that's basically the plot of this movie. Now, I do think the plot of this movie is really good. I definitely do enjoy it. Like I said, you can definitely tell they're trying to do something different, and that definitely does show here. I think this movie it has a lot more of a story to it than the first one did, definitely. But let's get to the cast here, which a lot of the same cast from the first movie, obviously. Let's talk about Seth Rogen, because Seth Rogen, I mean, he's a very funny actor. He's a very funny actor. I didn't think he was as funny as he's been in other films here. I felt like he was not holding back, but just he didn't really get most of the funny stuff in this movie. He had some really funny lines, definitely, like, of course, the thing in the trailer where you see him, just freaking out over how hot all the girls are, and how Kelly is making them sexier. Probably one of the funniest scenes in the movie. The problem is most of his funniest scenes are all in the trailer, and I think he was definitely good in this movie. He did a very good job. You still care about Mac's character, but nothing's really changed with Mac. He's the same guy that we've seen. There's nothing really that different about him, and because of that, I just wasn't as interested in his character as I was in the first movie. Not that he's bad here, it's just there really isn't anything new, as well as Rose Byrne's character, Kelly, who definitely has some really great stuff in this movie. In fact, I think she's funnier than Seth Rogen in this one. She has some really funny lines, some really great just one-liners from her. Definitely, she was really funny. But again, nothing's really changed with her. Of course, she's having another baby, but nothing's really changed with her. But these two still work very well together. You definitely still see that dynamic. But by far, though, I really think the real high of this movie, and everyone's been saying it, but I'm going to say it again, is Zac Efron. Zac Efron kills it in this movie. He killed in the first one. He kills it even more in this movie. Because if anything, this is more Teddy's story than is Mac and Kelly's story. Mac and Kelly are a part of it, but Teddy really is the main focus here, because Teddy's in a very awkward spot in his life. All of his friends have now moved on. He's now out of college. It seems like Delta Psi, all of them moved on, and Teddy really doesn't really know what he wants to do. He ends up joining the sorority. He ends up having a lot of problems with his friends, and I like the way they really tried to flesh out his character. I think they did a very good job with that. I really love what they did with him overall. By far, I think he had the best stuff in this movie. You really understand why he does want to switch sides when he does. The fact that he feels like he hasn't really grown up, and the fact that he really is trying to figure out what to do. I mean, a lot of people go through that, especially after college. They don't really know what to do. That's exactly the spot that Teddy's in. It's kind of sad to see at points, honestly, and I like that they did take that part of the movie seriously. And that's something I liked about the first one, is that they took his character seriously, and I think they did that really well here. I definitely really appreciated that. But now let's get into the new characters of this in the movie, especially, of course, Chloë Grace Moretz. Now, you guys probably know this, but I really think Chloë Grace Moretz is one of the best actresses working today. I kind of have a little bit of a crush on her. I think she's a very talented actress, and she really hasn't done anything that's disappointed me. Even The Fifth Wave, I thought she was still really good in that. Even though that movie wasn't that great, I thought she was really good in that. And here, I thought she again does a very good job as this character, Shelby. You actually really do care about her character. You see that she basically was she had this very tough father, and she didn't really get to be a normal teenager, and because that she's now grown very rebellious, she didn't have many friends in high school, and you can tell she's really trying to find herself in college. I think they did a very good job with playing that role. The problem is they just don't really do what they should do with her. At the beginning of this movie, it really seems like they're going to flesh out her character, and then by the end of the movie, she really hasn't changed really that much at all. She's still kind of the same way that she is. I do like the main message with her is that she really wants to make sure, as well as the other two girls, they want to make sure that women get to do the same things as men, because they should be allowed to do that, obviously, because sororities, apparently a big thing is that sororities apparently can't party, which I don't know if that's true, but this movie apparently says that it is. But I thought she did a good job. I definitely thought she was really good, and she was really funny when she had to be, but she had a really nice, interesting character as well. The problem was I just didn't latch on her character the way we did onto Teddy, and that really is my main problem with this movie. All three of the girls, and even besides Chloë Grace Moretz, I did not give a shit about the other two girls. We know nothing, we know next to nothing about them, really, except that they're just not accepting, they don't want to be part of the society, this sorority either, and they want to change things up along with Shelby. But aside from Shelby's character, we don't really care about the other girls. They don't really have much to do here. There's not really any funny moments with them. They try to give them stuff to do, but especially, what's her name? I can't think of her name right now, but especially, hang on one second, guys. What's her name? Kirstie Clemens' character really has nothing to do here. She really was not that interesting. I really just found her kind of boring, honestly. And the sorority scenes, while they're fun, they really feel like a different movie at points, definitely. But I think overall they did a good job. That part of the movie really just doesn't work as well as it should have, in my opinion. That's one of the reasons why this movie kind of suffers, and we'll get into that when we get into the screenplay. But I think let me just say it again. Chloë Grace Moretz, I think, did a good job. It's just the rest of the girls really were just kind of flat, and I really didn't care as much about them. It's clear that they're trying to do something different. It just really didn't work, in my opinion, and we didn't latch onto these characters the same way we did in the first movie. And of course, just like the first movie, Dave Franco is also back in a really nice plot twist with this character that I really don't like, that I don't want to spoil because it's actually one of the best parts of the movie that I really was not, thinking of. I mean, a lot of this movie really does focus on Teddy and Dave Franco's character, Pete's friendship overall, and can they keep this friendship intact, which I thought was a very interesting plot, and I really did enjoy that. Gerard Carmichael's back as well, as is Christopher Mintz-Plasse. I think it's awesome to see him. Selena Gomez really had nothing to do here either. If you guys saw her in the trailer, you saw her in the movie. She really doesn't have much to do here. And Lisa Kudrow as well also doesn't have much to do. But overall, I think the cast as a whole works well together. But like I said, the sorority part really doesn't work as well as it should have. But the directing here by Nicholas Stoller, it is very good at times. I think the directing here definitely is very good. I think he did a good job of the directing. But I will admit, this movie does feel a bit scattered at times, definitely. I mean, especially when we get to the sorority part, it does feel a bit different from the rest of the movie. And it's not that it's bad, it's just the directing on that part of the movie, I can't really tell if they're taking it seriously or if they're not taking it seriously, because they have a very good subject here, and I do like that this movie is basically about gender equality. A big part of that is gender equality and how girls do the same thing that guys do. I think that's a really good, interesting plot. There's a lot you can do with that. The movie just shoves it down your throat like crazy, though. There is no point in the movie where they don't make it obvious, and that's something I didn't like, is that it really wasn't subtle at all about it, and I feel like the movie could have been a lot more subtle. Unfortunately, it wasn't, and I think it really kind of hurt the movie a bit. I think they could have done a lot more with that. Definitely, there could have been more that they did, and they just really didn't. I understood the point of it, but it just didn't really go beyond girls knew anything that guys knew. I just kind of wanted to be a little bit deeper, and they didn't really do that. But like Chloë Grace Moretz's character, they tried to develop her, especially in this one very good scene with her dad, but again, it really was just play off as comedy, and it really didn't work. But let's get to the screenplay, which really brings up my main issue with this movie. Without a doubt, the biggest problem with this movie is the screenplay, and that shouldn't be a surprise because this is a comedy sequel. I get it that they really want to try something different. Like I said, with the sorority, they definitely did that. But I think the biggest reason why I didn't love the sorority girls like I did with the frat is because, unlike the frat boys, these girls are kind of insufferable. I mean, they do some things and they really are pushing it at times, and it really makes you wonder, should I really care about them, and should I really be, upset for them? Because the movie clearly does make you want to feel bad for them. But then there are times when they treat them just like the worst people ever. I mean, there's literally a scene where they decide to steal their phones and try to ruin Mac and Kelly's relationship, and they had no business doing that whatsoever. I don't know why that's here. It's not funny at all, and it really just seemed like they were just trying to do more, and they were trying to go way too far with it. Neighbors was more of guys just wanting to have fun, and these girls are insufferable. They don't stop. And some of the things that they do here, I don't really know if I can justify, and if it just seemed wrong. It didn't seem funny. A lot of it just seemed very wrong. And I will say, a lot of the scenes with the sorority girls and them trying to sabotage their plans, they feel very off. They feel like there's something missing. And most of the scenes where they try to infiltrate the sorority, it just doesn't exactly work in the way it should. There's a whole thing with a drug subplot, and that really doesn't work as it should. I will say, though, at the end, when they did the way they concluded, I did like overall. I thought it was a good conclusion. I just didn't really care about these girls in the way I wanted it to. Teddy's arc is definitely, I think, the most conclusive arc of this. I think it's the best arc that they did. The movie is definitely, I don't think, as funny as the first one. The movie definitely has some very funny jokes, but it's not as funny as the first one, and I think that's one of the things that really just make this movie suffer. Of course, we want to laugh, and while I definitely laughed, there were a lot of jokes that I think really did fall flat, and that's one of the reasons why this movie didn't work for me as well as it did. There are some things that worked very well, but a lot of things didn't work, and there are a lot more running gags in this movie, a lot that just aren't really all that funny. Like, there's this one with their daughter that really got tiring after a few jokes. I really think they just did that one way too long, and a lot of this movie are just running jokes that just aren't really funny. Like, constantly the sorority girls keep calling them the old people, and it's not really that funny at all. I think as a cast, they worked well, but there was definitely a difference between the way the sorority girls are and then the way that Mac, Kelly, and, Teddy are. The way that those three are definitely very different than the way the sorority girls are. And Teddy, of course, even points it out. It really just show how different the sorority is and how much bigger and more of a threat they are than Delta Psi ever was. Which I get them when we try to make a point of it. It still doesn't justify the fact that these girls, I think, really just do way too much and really get you to sometimes not care about them in the way they should. And that really is my main issue with the movie, is that the screenplay, a lot of what's going on, it just doesn't really work. It feels like it's just way too much. They're going way too far with it, and that's really, I think, my main issue with this movie. In terms of cinematography, there's really not much to talk about. Obviously, this is a comedy. You don't really see for cinematography. I did like the social commentary the movie did have with what they, like I said, with the gender equality. I thought that was pretty good. But the movie also does a good social commentary on being an adult. I mean, Teddy really is in this place where he doesn't know if he should be an adult or if he should be the kid in this situation. And that's a really hard thing to do at points, especially when he's in the situation he's in. He's really in a tough situation, and the decision that he makes is a very mature one. And I really love the way that was done. And like I said, that to me felt like the most conclusive arc, and that's one of the reasons why it works so well for me. I think the score here was pretty good. Not really much to say about it. Most of the songs you heard in the trailer are actually in the movie, and then the editing here, it did feel choppy at points. I definitely will say that, especially when we got to the sorority. It felt like that should have been our main focus, and then it wasn't our main focus. Then I felt, okay, Teddy should be our main focus, and then Mac and Kelly really don't get as many scenes as you'd expect them to get. In fact, if anything, I think Teddy's the star of this movie, and Mac and Kelly are more supporting characters, which the trailer really doesn't tell you, but I really do see it that way. I mean, they do get some really great scenes in this movie, but let's face it, Teddy really is the character that we feel the most for, and the character that we want to see the most of, and I think the main character in this movie, because most of what Teddy does sets up the rest of this movie. And I will definitely say the second half of this movie was kind of hard to watch once, because like I said, it wasn't as funny. I do think the way the movie concluded overall, I definitely really did enjoy, but I just didn't really feel, as much for these characters or care as much about them as the movie wanted me to, and that's really one of the reasons why it didn't work for me. I think the movie was a perfect length, 92 minutes. I think that was definitely perfect length for the movie. The movie definitely did go by fast for me, but it just didn't work in the way I wanted to, and because that, I am going to end up giving Neighbors to Sorority Rising A 3.5 out of 5 or a B minus. I think the movie definitely had some really good ideas, but just doesn't really utilize and deliver on those ideas in the way we think they're going to. Teddy's arc is fantastic. Everything about that I love. Is the entire movie was like that, I would have loved it. But the way the movie goes, it doesn't really go in the way you think it's going to, and it's not in a good way. Like I said, these girls, you just don't really care about them. They don't really flesh them out that well, and you never really get the sense that Matt cares about them in the way he does about Teddy, and they don't really feel, as much, you don't really feel for Shelby as much as you do with Teddy, and that really is my main problem in the movie. So that's really why I would give it what I did, and pretty much it's, like I said, it's not a bad sequel of any means, but it's just not as good as I think as it could have been. So overall, it's my thoughts on Neighbors 2. Would I recommend overall? I mean, I'll say this. If you like the first Neighbors, I definitely think you'll like Neighbors 2. It's definitely not as good as the first one, and I still don't really see what the point of this movie necessarily was. I do get what the point was. They wanted to do something different. It just didn't really work out. But let me know what you guys thought of Neighbors 2 if you have seen it. For me, I did enjoy this movie. I didn't think this was a bad movie or anything. I just thought a lot of the ideas just really didn't work in the way that they wanted them to. But overall, guys, let me know what you guys thought of this movie. Love to hear your thoughts on it. We'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for the season finale of the originals, which I obviously am hyped on my mind for. There's gonna be a lot of crazy shit going on, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.